Hello and welcome back to FATBOSS TV. Today we're sharing with you the Champion of Light encounter from recent raid testing within the Battle of Dazar'alor instance.
So this is the first encounter within the raid. The fight consists of a paladin, which is the main boss, and various little adds. In the very short time that we actually had while we were testing this boss, it feels that what's most important is controlling the adds throughout the fight and bursting damage onto the boss whenever possible. Let's jump into the encounter.
So we found it was best to tank the boss on one side of the room and the adds on the other. Whilst tanking the boss, you'll gain stacks of Sacred Blade. To frequently drop this dot, you need to tank swap, which is difficult considering all the adds that are currently on the other tank. We just found that it was best to allow the stacks to go on pretty high on a single tank and eventually drop at a later point when the boss starts to cast a long ability. We also played around with the idea of kiting the boss around to let them drop, which we should say actually does work, but it's probably something you'll not necessarily want to do when the boss hits live servers. We had our raid positioned so they were always facing towards the boss, but never directly between the boss and her adds, as on a timer she'll send a wave of light towards them. Getting hit by this wave will just make you take a burst of damage, but by standing on her side you'll never be hit. If the wave hits the add, it will heal them for a truckload as a 7-second hot. Ideally you'll move the adds away every single time, but they are casters so it's not always easy. This hot can however be dispelled, so watch out for it if the wave does hit them. The boss will also place Divine Protection on the adds throughout the fight to make them take 99% less damage for 6 seconds. You just got to notice where it is and damage the other add whilst it's up. It's not a huge deal.
So let's talk about the adds. The fight always starts with 1 Crusader and 2 Disciples, and the boss will spawn more sets of them throughout the fight. The Disciples have 3 interruptible casts. Divine Burst is the least important as it simply just deals a burst of damage. Penance will either damage a player or will heal an ally. You'll want to interrupt this every time it's healing an add, and their heal cast should be interrupted every time possible. As to the Crusader, he has 2 main abilities. When he casts Blinding Faith, it will cause all players that are faced towards him to be disoriented for 5 seconds. You just need to turn away before the cast is finished, or just look at the boss the entire time this guy's up. He'll also place large consecration patches on the ground. It's important to move all the adds out of these patches as fast as you possibly can, as they act as a 50% damage reduction zone for them. The consecration patches don't seem to affect the boss, but you still need to keep the boss away because of the boss's seals. Throughout the fight, the boss will cycle through 2 different seals, swapping between them every time she gets to 100% energy and casts a signature spell. She starts off with Seal of Retribution, which generates an aura which buffs nearby adds. This is why you have to tank them apart. The seal also periodically deals light ticking damage to the raid. At 100% energy she'll cast Judgment Righteousness, which applies a massive buff to one of the adds. The moment you identify which add has this buff, you want to swap to it and immediately kill it off. Now when any adds die during the boss's Seal of Retribution, it will buff the boss with 20 stacks of Zealotry. This flat out increases the boss's holy damage by 2% per stack. As a result, during this first seal you'll want to damage the adds very slowly, whilst primarily damaging the boss. When she changes to her next seal, which is Seal of Reckoning, you'll want to immediately swap to the adds and kill them all off, focusing on the add that was buffed by the Judgment Righteousness first. This new seal that she's using causes her to gain Zealotry stacks whenever she's hit by any player that doesn't have the tank stacks. And if you ignore this and continue to hit her, you'll notice that these stacks go up extremely fast. The idea here is that you kill off the adds before she changes back to the original seal and spawns the next set of adds. When she does get to 100% energy, she'll cast her final signature spell, which is Judgment Reckoning. This just deals a flat amount of damage to the entire raid. This is the primary reason why you need to keep stacks low, as otherwise this ability might just one-shot you. The fight just repeats from this point onwards, with the only change being that she will cast Wings at 30% health, which increases her damage by 30%, which is another reason why you'll want to manage the Zealotry stacks across the fight the best you can. So that's actually all the mechanics of the encounter and the general strategy of how you'll probably do this encounter on live. What do we think?
In our recent Laps Around Dalaran episode, for anyone who did watch that, we was maybe a little bit harsh on this boss. It was like, this is terrible. It's not too terrible of a fight. It's just not really great in comparison to the other encounters in the instance. For the most part, this could probably be explained by tuning. The passive raid damage could definitely be increased, and the phases themselves maybe could be shortened, and add health could be adjusted to fix that, because it honestly feels like half of the fight is, oh, I'm just attacking the boss, and then she's like, you can't attack me anymore. It's like, okay, I'll go kill the adds. And the adds die pretty quickly, and then you're sitting sitting there, not being able to attack the boss because she'll just gain those Zealotry stacks. It's like, this doesn't feel right. You know, it needs a little bit of love still.
I think another reason, though, for why maybe the phases could be shortened and the ad health can be, like, changed to fix that is because potentially right now, if you was to completely ignore the ads and just plow damage into the boss through the first seal and then stack her on top of the ads during the second seal and just cleave all the ads down whilst putting the majority of the damage into her, sure, she's going to get an absolutely insane amount of Zealotry stacks. But if you all stacked inside healing cooldowns and everyone used some form of personal cooldown when the Judgment Reckoning is cast, you probably can survive that damage, and you may be able to just kill her before she casts that ability again the next time she goes into phase 2. Meaning there'll only be one single point where you have to use all your cooldowns, survive it, and then you just burn off the boss anyway.
Yeah.
The only sort of limiting factor, I guess, on this strategy is that the Zealotry stacks also do apply to the tanks, as their dot is holy damage. If the stacks go too high, the tank damage might just become unhealable, and also to add the passive raid damage throughout the Retribution seal is also holy damage, so that might become unhealable as well. But looking at the numbers while we were testing, it's definitely a possibility that that strategy would work. If they did make those phases shorter, you're going to see the Reckoning cast far more frequent, and as a result, you know, that Surge strategy doesn't work. But then again, it's the first boss. Does it even matter if people Zerg it? Probably not. I just feel the encounter would be improved if pacing was changed, and she swapped between those seals much faster. And the only other thing I'd say is that the boss herself doesn't really have too many things going on. It's just a wave to dodge, and if you're positioned in a way so you're not between the boss and the ads, the wave will never hit you anyway.
Yeah, so that makes for a very inactive phase 1 for the majority of the raid.
Yep.
Of course, the two tanks have their own thing going on with the positioning, but everyone else can literally stand still, make sure they're not faced towards the ads, and just nuke the boss. Because even the healer ads during phase 1, their heal and their penance casts only heals the ads themselves. It will never heal the boss, at least not on heroic difficulty downwards. On Mythic, they have some cool mechanics you have to interact with throughout the fight, and I think this fight is actually not too bad on Mythic. It's kind of cool. But on heroic difficulty downwards, those ads can be largely ignored. Even if you go into phase 2 with the ads all at 100% health, you can still kill them off before phase 1 starts again.
With current tuning, yeah.
With current tuning.
On live, you'll probably want to get them low before going into that phase.
Well, that might definitely be a thing. If they make it tighter, it would actually mean that before phase 2 begins, it's like, okay, let's work on these ads now. Let's start getting them. So maybe you're going to phase 2 with all the ads at 70% health or 50% health. And that'll definitely make it so when one of the ads becomes all empowered and scary, it's going to be a lot less health and it'll be a lot less threatening. So that, if they tune it correctly, maybe you will be forced to do that kind of thing. But generally speaking, with first bosses, they want to make it accessible. They don't really want to make it so tuning is tight. So if a lot of guilds are just going to go into this and either do the intended strat and have to wait to attack the boss during phase 2, which sucks so much, it's so boring to wait, or they're just going to sit there and Zerg the boss. And to be honest, that doesn't feel quite right. Anyway, let us know what you guys think of the encounter in the comments below. We'll make sure you have a good read through them and probably be told how wrong we horribly are. And hopefully, well, we do want this boss to be good, of course. We will have an updated guide for you guys to check out in the first week of Heroic when this instance hits live servers. So keep an eye on the channel for that. And of course, for the rest of the previews that should all be out before Christmas. There's a lot going on.
There is.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks for watching.